Okay, so we're on lesson number
4, Maharaj.
lesson 4.
Yeah.
Well, you finished 3 already.
So you completed 2, no, Maharaj. Then Shivala Prabhu has taken
No,
third lesson.
I completed 1. I did the preface and then 1.
Yeah.
I thought Sri Balaba
we are on verse number 3, Maharaj.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I thought it was
Yeah,
number 3, yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, tonight we're doing lesson number 3, right? Is that agreed, everyone?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksuran Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha. You know, I wanted to share the screen. Is it somebody's disabled sharing the screen?
No. I'll make you co-host, Maharaj.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this evening we're continuing our study of the Nectar of Instruction for the Bhakti Shastri course, and tonight we're looking at verse number 3. We've heard in the first verse we heard about controlling the 6 urges, and then in the second verse we heard about 6 things which are harmful for devotional service, which impede and obstruct the growth of our devotion. So tonight we're going to look on the positive side, and we're going to hear about 6 factors which are conducive for helping us to progress in devotional service. So we can chant the verse together. Number 3. Utsahan nischayat dharyat Tatat karma pravartanat sangat tyagat sato vrite shadbir bhakti prasiddhyati. Right? Translation. There are 6 principles favorable for the execution of pure devotional service. 1. Being enthusiastic. 2. Endeavoring with confidence. 3. Being patient. 4. Acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, and then hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. And number 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. All right, so 6 factors are described. And the first 3, you can see there's a connection there. The first 3 concerning the attitude, and then the second 3, the second half of the verse, concerned with the application of devotional service, practicing sadhana bhakti. So Prabhupada's purport, we'll go through it. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has defined devotional service as follows. Anya bilasita sunyam jnana karma janavritam anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves surrendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, and all other selfish desires. Bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service, and for this reason it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Sri Prahlad Maharaj recommends, and then we have the verse, the famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 9 angas of bhakti are mentioned, right? This verse was quoted by Prahlad Maharaj when his father was asking him, what is the best thing you've learned? And Prahlad quoted these 9 angas of bhakti and said, any educated person knows these things, that this is real knowledge, the 9 processes of bhakti. So Prabhupada is making some important points here about the nature of bhakti. Sometimes people think bhakti is to stop work. They think devotional service means stop work, sit down, and people often think coming to Krishna consciousness that they will take it easy, don't work, don't be so active, just sit and take it easy, and don't do much. But that's not the real mood. Rather, Prabhupada says bhakti means activity. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. We're meant to do things for Krishna. And Prabhupada was very concerned that devotees were engaged in activities. And we would go out on Sankirtan every day. Every day, we'd spend every day out on Sankirtan. We'd go out in the morning and we'd come back for lunch, and we'd go out again in the afternoon. We would just do Sankirtan every day. This was how we engaged ourselves in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada liked that. He encouraged the devotee. Everyone should join the Sankirtan party. So these kind of activities are all done for the service of Krishna. And Prabhupada criticizes, he condemns the idea of yogis who sit and meditate. They want to stop everything. No, we encourage activities. So then Prabhupada goes on to talk about the 9 kinds of devotional service. It is not only just one activity, but there's different varieties of activity, and you can see the 9 kinds of activity. Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, you can see that. So the 9 processes of devotional service are mentioned, and it begins with, of course, hearing. And what hearing, not just hearing anything, but hearing the names and the glories of the Supreme Lord. And then chanting his glories. Very important. First comes hearing. And then if you hear nicely, and then you can chant, you can repeat. And then if we hear and chant nicely, then naturally remembrance will come. We start to remember Krishna. So there's a progression as we go through the 9 angas of bhakti. You can see a progression, a connection from one limb to the other. But the root, the most important part is to get the beginning right. It begins with hearing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave great importance to hearing. And in the Bhagavad Gita also you can see 7th chapter, verse 1, and Lord Krishna says, now hear from me, O Arjuna. Because Lord Krishna in the first 6 chapters, he described that bhakti was at the top of the yoga ladder. So then in the 7th chapter, he goes on to speak about bhakti. And he's telling Arjuna, hear from me. Because hearing is the first stage of bhakti. We hear nicely. If we hear nicely, we can chant, and then remembrance comes. And if we remember also, once we start to remember Krishna, then we will want to serve him, and we will worship also him. And we should offer obeisances, we should be his servant. And you can see it. Number 8 is making friends with the Lord. And number 9, surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. So these two angas of bhakti, these are for very advanced devotees who are engaged in raga bhakti. They're engaged in spontaneous devotion, right? To make friends with Krishna, that you have to be on a high level. You have to be very pure to come into an intimate relationship with Lord Krishna. And to surrender everything, that is the most challenging thing. We have examples of devotees who surrendered everything, Bali Maharaj. And another good example of someone who surrendered everything was Queen Rukmini, that she surrendered everything. She was ready to give up her life for the service of Lord Krishna. So 9 processes of bhakti. When Prabhupada always emphasized the importance of the hearing and the chanting. If we get the good roots, a good foundation, then the creeper of bhakti will grow nicely. So then Prabhupada goes on to speak about hearing, because that was the first limb, and the purport here now, Prabhupada will talk something about hearing and the importance of hearing. So he says, Shravanam, or hearing, is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons, but should approach the proper person as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 4:34, right? The famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, right? Which we always learn. So Prabhupada is stressing the importance of hearing from the authorized person, hearing through the proper channels. Don't just hear from anyone and everyone. Of course, so many people speak the Bhagavad Gita, but they present the Bhagavad Gita in their own ways. They don't present it according to parampara. So 4:34 says, try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual teacher. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. Right? You can see Tadvidi Pranipatena. Pranipatena means we have to fall down without reservation. In other words, we have to approach the teacher with humility. And then Pariprashnena means making inquiries. We should want to hear. We should have. We should be inquisitive and want to put questions before the teachers. And sevaya, rendering service. So this is the qualification of the disciple. And then upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tadvadashana. So the second half of the verse, you get the qualification of the teacher, the guru, that he should know the truth. He must know the absolute truth. And not only does he know the truth, but he can reveal it to others. So that's important qualification for a teacher. Not only that they know the subject, but they know how to present it to other people also. So some people, they say, oh, well, I know everything, I just can't explain, I can't put it into words. But I know it. So they don't know it very well. They cannot put it into words. So one who actually knows the truth, one who's tattvadarshi, he's seen the truth, then he can reveal it to others. So this is the qualification of the spiritual teacher. Self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So both the student and the teacher have to be qualified. Sometimes people think, oh, it's only the teacher should be qualified. But the student also should be qualified properly. Arjuna was qualified as a student. Krishna was the teacher. Arjuna was the student. People say, I want a teacher like Lord Krishna. So you have to be a student like Arjuna. When you're qualified like Arjuna as a student, then you'll get a good teacher. Prabhupada then continues, it's recommended in the Mundaka Upanishad, Tadvigyanartam Sagurum Eva Begachet, right? So that's Mukunda Upanishad. To understand that transcendental science, one must approach a spiritual master. You must approach Tadvigyanartam Sagurum Eva Begachet. You have to approach a spiritual master. You want to understand the absolute truth, you must approach the spiritual teacher. So Prabhupada continues, thus this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. We may think, oh, I can understand everything by my own efforts. I don't need a teacher. But this is not the process.
Please. Give Mala, please.
Can you mute your mics, please? Those of you, please mute the microphones because otherwise we get interrupted. So we have to understand the process. It's not based on our own mind, but it's based on hearing from authorities. And then Prabhupada quotes another verse. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya told Rupa Goswami, another famous verse, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate soul may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. This is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. So this is the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. Lord Chaitanya is giving Rupa Shiksha, right? That Lord Chaitanya met with Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami had renounced his service. He was working in Ramakeliya in the service of the Nawab, and he left everything to come and join Lord Chaitanya's movement. And he met Lord Chaitanya at the Dasashwamedha Ghat at Prayagraj. And for 10 days, Lord Chaitanya instructed him in the science of devotion. And this was one of the statements of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the material world is a place of confinement for the living entities who are by nature anandamaya, pleasure-seeking. living entity. We want to enjoy, we're looking for enjoyment, but we are restricted. We're stuck in this material world. Very difficult for us. So we want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness. But not knowing the process of liberation, they are bound to transmigrate from one species of life to another, and from one planet to another. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. But when, by good fortune, one comes in contact with a pure devotee and hears from him patiently, one begins to follow the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. So Prabhupada, in this way, he's giving us a purport to this wonderful verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Chaitanya had described Konya Bhagyavan Jeev. When the living entity becomes fortunate, then Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai, he gets the mercy of Lord Krishna. And in this way, the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion, the Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotion, in the form of a seed, is implanted by the grace of the Guru. It's implanted into the fortunate living entity. So when we're fortunate, we'll take advantage of this opportunity to do devotional service. And Prabhupada said this is the purpose of our society, to give this opportunity to conditioned souls in the material world. So our work as devotees is to make others fortunate. We were made fortunate by the grace of Srila Prabhupada and his followers, and we would like to give that good fortune to others. This is the mission of the Krishna consciousness movement, to try to plant as many seeds as we can and let the creeper of devotion grow. So Prabhupada continues in the purport, he said, one should accept this opportunity to return home, back to Godhead, very enthusiastically. Right? Enthusiasm, remember, was the first thing, right? Utsahan. That enthusiasm, very important to have that enthusiasm. Now people often ask me how to be enthusiastic. Just by being enthusiastic, it's not how to be enthusiastic. You just have to be enthusiastic, be eager to take up all the activities of devotion. The enthusiasm should be for Krishna conscious activities, that we're very eager to chant and to do service for Krishna, join in the kirtan, and we like to hear also pravachan, to hear the katha. So like that, we need to be enthusiastic. It's a very important quality. And Prabhupada saw practically that was the only qualification we had in the beginning of our Krishna consciousness movement. We didn't know any philosophy, and we didn't have any real culture or training, but somehow we had that enthusiasm that whatever Prabhupada told us to do, we would try. We'd immediately go and try to do it. And Prabhupada sent devotees to different parts of the world to go and open centers. There were no books, there were no instruments, so he would just send them. Devotees would go because they had so much enthusiasm. And not only they had a lot of faith also. So Prabhupada said, without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. All right, and everything. Yeah, if you're enthusiastic, it's a very attractive quality, and it attracts people. And that was one thing which I appreciated when I saw the devotees. I saw their enthusiasm, and it was so attractive that you wanted to be with them. I wanted to join them and take up Krishna consciousness, and because that enthusiasm is so attractive. Prabhupada continues, he said, a student, businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishnartha Kila Chesta, from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Krishnartha Kila Chesta. Everything should be done for Krishna. So this is how Prabhupada explains enthusiasm, that action. Prabhupada liked to see the devotees active. He liked to see the devotees dance in the kirtan. He liked to see the devotees go out on book distribution. He was happy to see the devotees enthusiastic. And he also told one devotee that if he was not, he said, he was one devotee. Well, he wasn't much of a devotee, but he was trying to be a devotee. He was very morose. He was conquered by his mind, he wasn't happy. And Prabhupada told him, he said, you cannot be in Krishna consciousness if you are morose. So, to be enthusiastic, you cannot be morose. You have to be happy. You have to, you should feel very blissful, very joyful. And that is one of the characteristics of Krishna conscious devotees, that we're always very happy and joyful, singing and dancing. The whole material world, conditioned souls, they're all miserable, they're all morose, and the devotees come along and they're full of life. So this is the difference between material and spiritual. So Prabhupada continues, in all phases of life, one has to perform devotional activities under the direction of the spiritual master in order to attain perfection in bhakti yoga. So we have to perform devotional activities guided by the spiritual teacher. We don't just do things whimsically. We don't just do what we want to do. It has to be authorized. It should be given. The instruction should be given by the spiritual teacher. And that is how to get perfection. That we're told to do something by the spiritual teacher. We do as they say, then that's very good. Prabhupada said, it is not that one has to confine or narrow one's activities. Krishna is all-pervading. Therefore, nothing is independent of Krishna, as Krishna himself states in Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. Right? From the 9th chapter, verse number 4. By me, in my unmanifested form, right? The avyakta murti. The avyakta murtina means the avyakta, unmanifested murtina form. So this entire universe, the Jagat, is pervaded by this Avyaktamurti, the unmanifested form. Krishna is everywhere, he's in everything, but he's unmanifested, he's not visible to us. And then the second half of the verse continues, all beings are in me, Lord Krishna, but I am not in them, Lord Krishna says. So under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one has to make everything favorable for Krishna's service. And then Prabhupada gives an example. He said, at present, we're using a dictaphone. The materialist who invented this machine intended it for businessmen or writers of mundane subject matters. Right? Prabhupada would use a dictaphone when he was writing his books. He would do it like that. He had a dictaphone which he used, devotees had given him, and he would use it, and he would dictate into the dictaphone, and then the devotees would take the tapes and they would type them out and edit everything. So Prabhupada he carried that dictaphone with him, and Prabhupada said this machine was intended for businessmen or writers of mundane subject matters. And the person who invented the machine never thought of using the dictaphone in the service of Krishna. But Prabhupada said, we are using this dictaphone to write Krishna conscious literature. Of course, the manufacturer of the dictaphone is wholly within the energy of Krishna. All the parts of the instrument, including the electronic functions, are made from different combinations and interactions of the 5 basic types of material energy. And Prabhupada mentions the 5 elements as Bhumi, Jala, Agni, Vayu, and Akash. In the Bhagavad Gita, in English language, it's simply earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So the inventor used his brain to make this complicated machine. And his brain, as well as the instruments, they were all supplied by Krishna. Right? All the elements which are used to make the dictaphone, and the inventor's own brain was given by Krishna. So Prabhupada then quotes the Bhagavad Gita again, 9.4, Matstani Sarva Bhutani. Lord Krishna had said, everything is depending on my energy. Right? Lord Krishna said, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. So the devotee can understand that nothing is independent of Krishna's energy. Everything should be dovetailed in his service. So this is important. Prabhupada is logically arguing that we have to use everything in the service of Krishna. And then Prabhupada comes back to talk about, to give the definition of utsaha, or enthusiasm. He says, endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. Right? I've highlighted it there. I want you all to make a note of that. It's a nice quote to remember. Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called enthusiasm, or utsaha. So in this way, Prabhupada tells us what is the actual meaning, what enthusiasm means. You make that endeavor, that we really try hard to do something, and at the same time we use our intelligence, and we try to do it for Krishna. So Prabhupada continues The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate. Right? I think you'll all know that statement is, again, Rupa Goswami describing renunciation. That real renunciation is to utilize everything in the service of Krishna. So the execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. So Prabhupada, the high level of English describing here how to execute devotional service. That it's not simply idle meditation, just sit and do nothing, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. So we want to have practical activities. So Prabhupada continues, these activities must be executed with patience, right? The first quality was enthusiasm, but then the next quality is patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute devotional service with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement. And now they're eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So, patience, this is sometimes a challenge for us because we're so much Rajagun and Tamagun, we're so much influenced by the lower modes of the material energy. We're often impatient, and we want to become Krishna conscious very quickly. But Prabhupada is pointing out, you have to be patient. It's going to take some time. So we have to understand the importance of these things. And the more we understand the importance of Krishna consciousness movement, the more we will seriously practice and execute the process and patiently wait to develop the good results. Sometimes, people expect to get 4 arms overnight. It's going to take time. Prabhupada told Giriraj Maharaj, before taking sannyas, he was a brahmachari and he was in charge of the Juhu temple. And Prabhupada came to him one day and told him, Giriraj was chanting japa, and Prabhupada told him, he said, it took me 32 years to perfect this chanting. So he was pointing out to Giriraj that this chanting, it's going to take some time. You have to be patient. Don't expect to make it to get the perfection so quickly. We have to be enthusiastic. At the same time, we have to be patient. But we should be careful about being too patient. Sometimes we carry things too far. Sometimes you get people, you ask them, why don't you take initiation? And they will say, oh, well, I'm not chanting 16 rounds yet. And you encourage them, well, Prabhu, you've been coming for a long time. Why don't you chant 16 rounds? And the person will say, oh, just be patient. Give me more time. Be patient. And after 20 years, they're still coming, and they're still not chanting 16 rounds, and they're still saying, just be patient, just be patient. And we get that not only with chanting Hare Krishna. You ask people to be vegetarian, oh, just be patient, give me time. So these kind of things. But here we're talking about being patient and getting the results of Krishna consciousness. Right? We want to get the results of Krishna consciousness. Doing devotional service. We're talking about one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service. We should take instructions and do the instructions with patience. Depend on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So it's important, patient. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. So Prabhupada introduces another quality, right? Utsahan nischayat dhairyat. So enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. And Prabhupada gives an example about patience and confidence. He said, a newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her husband will develop and be born in, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshabe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. So there are 6 items of surrender mentioned. We know from the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 66 verse, where Lord Krishna says, Sarva dharmam pariyajna mamikam sharanam braja. Lord Krishna had given the advice to Arjuna that he should give up all of his dharmas and just surrender to him. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains to us what is the meaning of surrender. And there are 6 different characteristics which are given for describing surrender. And one of them is this Avashya Rakshabe Krishna, that Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. We should have that kind of confidence that Krishna will protect me and he will help me to do my service. This is the mood of the devotee that Prabhupada taught us. He said, nothing is impossible. He said, impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary. So for Krishna and Krishna's devotees, nothing is impossible. And of course, Krishna, he has inconceivable potency. He has achintya shakti. He can do anything and everything. He has that power. And if he wants, he can do it for the devotees also. So the devotee has that confidence in Lord Krishna. Now, when Srila Prabhupada was with us, the devotees were very confident. We were confident that we're going to conquer the world even, we were thinking. We were thinking that we will conquer the whole world and make the whole world Krishna conscious. Nowadays we're a little more realistic, and we understand it's not so easy, but at the same time we have confidence in the process of devotional service. That if we do the service properly, and if we surrender ourselves to Lord Krishna, then certainly Lord Krishna will deliver us from this material world. He will take us out of this material world and take us back to Godhead. So this is the meaning of Krishna, of this confidence. The devotee is confident that Krishna is there, Krishna is helping. We're not the doer, Krishna is the doer. Devotee gives the credit to Krishna. We cannot do anything on our own, but with the help of Krishna we can do anything. We can perform wonderful activities by taking shelter of Krishna. And Krishna is also there to protect us from all the problems, the dangers. We can easily fall into material life, we can be a victim of the material energy, but we take shelter of Krishna, and Krishna protects us. Krishna says, Kunti a pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, declare it boldly, O Arjuna, my devotee will never perish. I will protect him. So this point is made here, confidence. We should be confident in the protection of Krishna. Confident in the process that we're doing, the most wonderful activities, devotional service, that it's the ultimate, it's a supreme occupation. There's nothing higher than devotional service. And if we dedicate ourselves to the service of Krishna, then Krishna will also take care of us, and he will give us all protection. So devotee has that confidence. Just like Prabhupada went to America, although he was already 70, he went to America on the boat. He didn't have money, but he was confident that Krishna will take care of me, Krishna will protect me. So that kind of confidence was there in Prabhupada. And he was confident that he could build up a big society, centers all over the world, and farms, and different educational programs, and so many activities would be introduced through his international society. Prabhupada had that confidence that he could do it. Even before he began the whole mission, he was always telling people that I'm going to go to the West and I'm going to preach Krishna consciousness in the West. And other people were there in Vrindavan and they would just look at him and think, oh yeah. And they didn't really take him very seriously. But then Prabhupada actually did it. He actually went there and he did it. So that's confidence. We have to have that kind of confidence in what we're doing for the service of Krishna. All right, we'll continue with the purport. As already explained, one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic about executing the regulative principles. Tat tat karma pravartana. Right? We heard the enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. Now, the fourth principle, which is conducive for progressing in devotional service, is this tat tat karma pravartana. It means executing the regulative principles. Our regulative principles, like we have not only 4 regulative principles. Anyway, let's read what Prabhupada says. Neglect of the regulative principles will destroy devotional service. In the Krishna consciousness movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes slack in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends tat karma pravartanat. One must strictly follow the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. We have to follow very strict. That's why at the time of initiation we make a vow. And Prabhupada says, so long as you're following these principles and chant, then he can help us. But if we don't follow these principles, then he said, I cannot help you. Because we're not keeping our vows. If we don't keep our vows, then don't expect to get the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So these 4 principles, they're called yama. And there are also the yama is the prohibitions, right? No meat, fish and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. So prohibitions, this is called yama. And then there are things we must do. The things we must do are called niyama. And the things we must do are things like daily chanting on our chanting every day on our beads. That's a regulative principle. We have to chant minimum 16 rounds on our japa beads, on our japa mala. So there's yam and niyam, just like in the Ashtanga yoga process. The Ashtanga yoga, 8 steps of yoga that begins with yama and niyama. Yama, prohibitions, things you have to give up, and things you have to do, the niyam. So we have to associate with devotees, we have to chant Hare Krishna, and we have to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. That means cultivating the good qualities of the acharyas, following their behavior, their example. So these regulative activities must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat karma pravartanat, or varied engagement in devotional service. Right? We have to faithfully take part in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Coming to the temple in the morning, Mangal Arti, Tulsi Puja, Guru Puja, chanting Japa, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, serving the deities, so many different things. This is all in the category of tat karma pravartanat. Our Prabhupada says, varied engagement in devotional service. Right? We have a lot of variety, a lot of different services we can do. Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. So, in the previous verse, we heard about things which were to be given up, things which were unfavorable for our devotional service. Right? In the previous verse, it mentioned atyahara, prayashascha, prajalpa, niyamagraha, jana sangas, shaloyamcha, shadbir bhakti vinashati. So, jana sangha, it mentioned association with the ordinary people, mundane people, non-devotees. So that should be avoided, doesn't help us. So here also we're told we want to progress, we should progress by giving up the association of undesirable people. And Prabhupada mentions who are undesirable. He said this includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. So even though they may be practicing some spiritual path, they may be like yogis or jnanis or whatever, but we don't like to associate with them because they're not really devotees. Although they may be on the spiritual path, they don't have devotion for Lord Krishna. So then Prabhupada quotes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said one time Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his householder devotees about the general principles of Vaishnavism. So this what happened, there was one devotee, he came to Lord Chaitanya and he said, I'm very fallen. I'm in family life. It's very difficult for me to make advancement. Please tell me, what can I do to make advancement? So Lord Chaitanya told him, you have to chant the holy name and serve the Vaishnavas. So then he asked Lord Chaitanya, how can I recognize who is the Vaishnava? How do I know who is the Vaishnava? So then Lord Chaitanya said like this, he said, Asat Sangatyak e Vaishnavachar. He said, one who is a devotee, the characteristic of a Vaishnava is that he gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. Right? The Asat Sangha. Sangha is association, so Asat Sangha. Sat, if it's Sat Sangha is good, but Asat Sangha is bad, that's material association. So Asat Sangha Tyaga, give up that Asat Sangha. Give it up. Don't associate with the materialistic things or materialistic people. And that is the characteristic of a devotee, a Vaishnava, that he will avoid the association of worldly people or non-devotees. Very important. If we associate with people who are drunkards, we will become like a drunkard. If we associate with people who are meat eaters, we also want to become a meat eater. You associate with people who are gamblers, you will also gamble. You have to be very careful where you associate. So you want to associate with devotees. So Prabhupada continues, said, Narottam Das Thakur has therefore recommended Tandara Charana Seva Bhakta Sanivas. He said, Tandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas. Live in the company of pure devotees. Bhakta Sanivas, right? Live in their association and follow the regulated principles set down by the previous acharyas. So we have to get that, take advantage, try to get that right association that will help us to be in Krishna consciousness. So we follow the teachings laid down by the previous acharyas. And Prabhupada quotes the names of the Goswamis, the 6 Goswamis. Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopala Go. Right? The 6 Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, the 2 brothers. And then Jiva Goswami was their nephew. Then Raghunath Das Goswami, he was from the very rich family, from Bengal. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he'd come from South India. And Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he was the son of Tapana Mishra, he'd been living with his father there, and for some time they were in Bangladesh, and then they went to Varanasi. So Prabhupada continues, if one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. All right, the association of non-devotees is harmful to our Krishna consciousness. So how to avoid associating with non-devotees? Live with the devotees. Go and live in the Krishna Conscious Center. And Prabhupada said, International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life. So, people, of course, they're looking for this opportunity. Many people, they would like to come and live in the company of devotees. So they can come, but they have to do service, right? They cannot be idle. They have to be engaged, they have to work, they have to do some service. So we do get people coming to the Krishna consciousness movement. People come to Mayapur, come and stay in Mayapur and give up their work, give up their connections with the material energy, and they come and live in Mayapur and do service there. We have a lot of engagement there. There's always a lot of activities to be done there. And we have so many other centers around the country. Prabhupada continues, devotional service means transcendental activities. On the transcendental platform, there is no contamination by the three modes of material nature. That is called Vishuddha Sattva, the platform of pure goodness, or goodness free from contamination by the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone. So Prabhupada goes on now, he's talking about the duties somebody wants to live in the association of devotees. Right? It should be on the pure platform. We should get free from the passion and ignorance. So Prabhupada explains how by practicing Krishna consciousness in a lifestyle of a devotee, you can overcome passion and ignorance. And so Prabhupada said, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 a.m. Right? 4 a.m. It's not very early. But that's the auspicious time in the day. The auspicious time, there's a period called Brahma Muhurta, which comes 1.5 hours before sunrise. So sunrise is about 5:30 here in the morning, and so you want to be up by 4 o'clock. And by 4 o'clock, you have to bathe, you have to put on your tilak, and you have to go to Mangal Arti. Usually we have Mangal Arti 4:30, and attend the Mangal Arti. We do Tulsi Puja, chant japa, then read Srimad Bhagavatam, Kirtan, and so on. Right? People sometimes, I was hearing devotees, they were saying we have Kirtan Mela, but another devotee said, well, we have Kirtan Mela every day. Every morning there's Kirtan in the temple. We have Guru Puja, we have Artis and so on. Every day there's Kirtan Mela. The morning program. And we can have evening programs also. Morning and evening we have Kirtan. So Kirtan Melas are also there. Kirtan Melas goes on every day if you take part in the daily temple program. So we have continuous activities in devotional service, 24 hours daily. Right? We want to be like that, fully engaged in Krishna consciousness from morning till night. We're busy. Even Prabhupada said 24 hours daily. So, of course, we have to take some rest sometime. Take some rest, and then you can continue to do service. It's not that we don't take rest. We can also rest and go to sleep. But everything for Krishna. We don't sleep too much, just sleep enough so that we can go on and serve Krishna the next day. Prabhupada continues, he said, this is called satovritti. Satovritti, right? The final quality. Tat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat satovritti shadbir bhakti prasidyati. So satovritti, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, who expertly filled every moment of time with Krishna conscious activities. So we want to do like that, follow in the footsteps of these great devotees. And Prabhupada says it means we should cultivate the qualities of these devotees. Their qualities, just like enthusiasm and their confidence and their patience and their cleanliness and their dedication to the Krishna consciousness movement. We want to cultivate that. One who is a devotee, he will develop all the good qualities. But one who is not a devotee, even though it may appear like he has good qualities, but if he's not a devotee, he's under the modes of material nature. Sometimes he'll be influenced by passion, sometimes by ignorance. But he's under the modes of material nature. So his situation is not very good. But one who is a devotee, he will be transcendental to the modes of nature. And he can actually cultivate, show the good qualities. And we give an example about this, like Magrari the hunter. He was a hunter, but once he started to chant Hare Krishna and he worshipped the tulsi plant, he wouldn't even kill little insects. Previously he'd been a hunter, trapping animals and torturing them. But after becoming a devotee, he didn't even want to kill little insects. So that is how devotees develop the good qualities. Prabhupada continues, if one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely, being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regulative principles, and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that the cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, the collection of mundane opulence by the advancement of fruitive activities, and the desire for yoga siddhis or material perfections are all contrary to the principles of devotional service. One has to become thoroughly callous to such non-permanent activities and turn his intention instead to the regulative principles of devotional service. So Prabhupada is pointing out to us that as devotees, we're not interested in the results of a lot of knowledge, which usually leads to liberation, and we don't want to enjoy the material world, mundane opulences, and we're not interested in yoga siddhis. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakale ashanta, Krishna bhakti niskam sa esha shanta. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described like that one who has material desires, or one who desires liberation, or one who wants yoga perfection, or whatever one wants, that they will not be peaceful. Only the devotee is peaceful, because the devotee just simply wants devotional service. He just wants to be engaged in devotional service. So devotees, we're not interested in the other things which are all temporary. They're not eternal. Whatever benefit you get from the material world or the yoga siddhis or liberation, or all of these things, they're not eternal. There's just some temporary benefits. So we don't worry about these things. We keep all of our focus on the regulative principles of devotional service. And then Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 269, Yanisha sarva bhutanam tashyam jagarti samyami yashyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pashyato mune. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So this verse is indicating the big difference between the devotee and the non-devotees. The devotees have a very different understanding of life compared to non-devotees. The non-devotees, what they think is enjoyment, devotees, it means nothing to a devotee. And what we value, it's not appreciated by the non-devotees. And sometimes we say also, devotees, we like to wake up early in the morning, and the karmis, they're awake all night, and they come home, they go to sleep in the morning. So like that, what is their night is our day, and what is our night is their day. So engagement in the devotional service of the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. It is the desired goal and supreme perfection of human life. One has to become confident about this. Again, Prabhupada is stressing about this confidence. We have to be confident that this is the real goal of life. Prem punarto mahan. The goal of life is to develop love of God. And to develop that prem, we have to engage in devotional service. So we have to become confident about this, and one also has to be confident that all activities other than devotional service, such as mental speculation, fruitive work, or mystic endeavor, will never yield any enduring benefit. Complete confidence in the path of devotional service will enable one to attain his desired goal, but attempting to follow other paths will only succeed in making one restless. So if we follow Krishna consciousness, if we follow the path of bhakti, we'll come to the goal. We can develop a love for Krishna, attachment for Krishna. But if we deviate, we go off into other paths, engaging in speculative knowledge or fruitive activities, trying to find some other things, then we'll just become more restless. We won't get the real goal which we're seeking. We may get some temporary benefit, but that's all. It won't last for very long. So Prabhupada refers to 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj. One must be calmly convinced that those who have given up devotional service to engage in severe austerities for other purposes are not purified in their minds, despite their advanced austerities, because they have no information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So people may do great austerities. They give up devotional service to do some great austerities. It means they're not very purified in their mind, because they're neglecting the service of the Lord. And Prabhupada then refers another verse, also from 7th canto, also Prahlad Maharaj. Although mental speculators and fruitive actors may perform great austerities and penances, they still fall down because they do not have information about the lotus feet of the Lord. They neglect the lotus feet of the Lord. So they fall down, although they think they are liberated. So, Aurora Krishrena Patam Tatam Tada Yajyantri Aro Nadreta Yasmad Angraya. They fall back to the material world. But a devotee never falls down. Krishna assured Arjuna, Kunti ar pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. And then also Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, 240, Neha bikramanashosti pratyavayo navidyate swapam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. A little advancement can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So this is Krishna consciousness. It can protect us from the fear of losing this human life, the fear of becoming an animal. So a little advancement can save us from that. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. Sometimes a person will give up his ordinary material engagements and out of sentiment take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and thus begin the execution of devotional service. Even if such an immature devotee falls down, there is no loss on his part. On the other hand, what is the gain of one who executes his prescribed duties according to his varna and ashram and does not take to devotional service? Although a fallen devotee may take his next birth in a low family, his devotional service will nonetheless resume from where it left off. Devotional service is ahaitaki apratiyata. It is not the effect of any mundane cause, nor can it be terminated by any mundane cause, or permanently curtailed by any material interaction. Therefore, a devotee should be confident about his engagement and should not be very much interested in the activities of the karmis, jnanis, and yogis. So Prabhupada is speaking strongly about devotional service, and he's paraphrasing a famous verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes that a person may do so many duties in the material world according to his varna and ashram, but if he doesn't come to devotional service, then it is all useless. Dharma swanushtita pumsa vishwakshena katastuya nodpadaya yadiritim shrama evahi kevalam. It is all useless labor unless we take up devotional service. Devotees activities executed by all people are only useless labor if it does not develop attraction for the service of the Lord. So, if someone, on the other hand, he may have taken up Krishna consciousness, but he may not have been able to maintain it, and he may have some spiritual difficulty, he may fall down, but it's not a big problem, because whatever progress he's made, he will continue from that point in his next life. And he will again get the opportunity to get success, to go on. So we see devotees, they come, they do some valuable service, and sometimes due to the material energy, sometimes they go away. But still after some time they again come back and take up devotional service. And they know that Krishna consciousness, that was the best thing in their life. There was no better point in their life than when they were devotees, when they were serving Krishna. So we shouldn't be attracted to the material way of life. There are many good qualities among fruit of actors, philosophical speculators, and mystic yogis. But all good qualities automatically develop in the character of a devotee. No extraneous endeavor is needed, as confirmed by Srimad Bhagavatam. All the good qualities of the demigods manifest progressively in one who has developed pure devotional service, because a devotee is not interested in any material activity. He does not become materially contaminated. He is immediately situated on the platform of transcendental life. However, one who engages in mundane activity, be he a so-called jnani, yogi, karmi, philanthropist, nationalist, or whatever, cannot attain the higher stage of Mahatma. He remains a Duratma, a cripple-minded person. According to Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas mam parta daivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso gyadva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Prita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Since all the devotees of the Lord are under the protection of His supreme potency, they should not deviate from the path of devotional service and take to the path of karmi, jnani, or yogi. This is called utsahan nischayat dhairyat tat karma pravartanat, enthusiastically executing the regulative principles of devotional service with patience and confidence. In this way, one can advance in devotional service without hindrance. So in this way, Prabhupada is telling us about how these 6 characteristics, these 6 qualities can give us so much progress in devotional service. It's so very important for us to try to cultivate, to try to emulate these qualities, to manifest that enthusiasm, confidence, and patience, and executing the activities like hearing and chanting. And so, not very difficult things, but we have to do it, and we have to do it every day. We want to do it all the time. Ahaitaki apritiyata. We should do this. We should do this without thinking about the problems or the obstacles, without thinking about what we want to get. We simply want to do it for Krishna. This is the idea. We want to do things for the pleasure of Krishna. That's it. The meaning of devotional service, that we're working for the pleasure of Krishna. We want to please Krishna. And our offering to Krishna is with love, loving service to Krishna. And we do it with enthusiasm and with confidence and patience. All right, so we'll stop and ask if there are any questions from anyone. Anyone has any questions?
Maharajji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Maharajji, I did not understand the meaning of tat tat karma pravartana. So tat tat karma, I can understand a little bit, but pravartana meaning I am not getting. Please help me.
Well, we have to take it from the word meaning, right? If you look in the beginning of the text, Prabhupada explains there what it means.
By perform.
Wait, here we go. Tata karma pravartanat. Various activities favorable for devotional service. Pravartanat, by performing. So tata karma is the activities, and then pravartana is by performing these various activities. Right? So Prabhupada was stressing the importance of activities. So we have to do these activities. And these activities should be favorable for devotional service. So what is favorable for devotional service? Well, associating with devotees, doing sankirtan, taking prasadam, chanting the holy name, worship, all the different activities. There's so many variety of activities, and they're favorable for Krishna consciousness, and we should do these things. Right? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, any other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam. I have one question. Most of the time we might be following the 4 regulative principles as an individual, but sometimes as my own case, I would like to explain that in most of our workplaces, those 4 regulative principles have been inculcated in such a way that we come across that our workplaces are not following those 4 regulative principles, which we have been told to do so. And sometimes we maybe not now, but before or earlier we might be also practicing or doing those activities, but now we might not be doing that. So how can we take that up for the future, or what should we do to extradite ourselves from them and consider that, okay, we still following the principles?
Yes, you have to be cautious about the association we keep. I know it's a challenge, certainly in this part of the world it can be difficult for us. People have jobs, you have to work with people who are not following a similar lifestyle, and it's certainly difficult for us. That is why Lord Chaitanya, he told Rupa and Sanatan, you should leave that job. Lord, although they had a big job, a very good job in the service of the Nawab, Lord Chaitanya told them, he said, you should give up that work and just come and join me. And of course they did. And they left and they were able to get great success. So you have to consider for yourself, you know, that you have to be very cautious about association. We do have our strict principles. One man was telling me how he also had some difficulty, but he said in the beginning it was like that, but then gradually everybody got to know, oh, that this person, oh, he doesn't drink tea, he doesn't take coffee, what to speak of all the other things, you know, the meat and the alcohol and whatever. So he was, you know, people gradually learn that, oh, this person, he doesn't indulge in these things. So if we're very convinced about this and we're faithful and chaste in our practice, then, you know, gradually people understand. I had experienced myself for some time. I took a job in China. I was teaching English in university, and I had to associate with non-devotees. And often they would have functions and I would have to attend, and they would have so many different dishes and things. And, you know, they would encourage me and I would just look at it, you know. I'd feel, oh my goodness, you know. But gradually they understood that, you know, that I'm not, I don't eat, I have a different diet, a different lifestyle. And Srila Prabhupada used to explain, he said, when it comes to dressing, well, then we dress to suit others, to please others. But when it comes to eating, it's up to every individual. So for our own self, when it comes to what we eat, then we don't have to adjust according to please others. For dressing, it's a different thing. Dressing, we do meet the convention. According to the standard convention, we will dress. But for eating, it's a very individual thing. And according to our own nature, we can choose what we're going to eat and how much and when we're going to eat and so on. So we should be confident about that and determined to keep up our own standards of spirituality and strict control over what we eat. And that will protect us. You know, if we have that faith, we have that conviction, then certainly we can succeed.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Any other
Hare
questions?
Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, when we just learned about four regulative principles, like after giving vow to Guru Maharaj and after taking initiation, so this means in continuation with the previous question only, I want to ask like how important is we need to follow about chanting 16 rounds. Since we have a very busy schedule, sometimes we miss out on chanting 16 rounds. So do we need to carry forward and cover up with the balance rounds? And if we are not able to do so, what are the consequences we might face? Hare Krishna.
Well, that's very serious. Certainly, you don't want to compromise on the chanting of the holy name. You know, we have made this vow. It's the vow we made, so we have to be very strict and keep that vow. And one devotee, he was saying to Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, I'm so busy, I don't get time to chant my 16 rounds. Then Prabhupada told him, he said, then don't sleep at night. He said, simply chant, but you have to chant. He said, it's that important. We have to commit ourselves to the chanting. We must do that. We must chant at least 16 rounds. And other things, you just forget. Minimize your sleep. Minimize that. But get your chanting done. You have to do it. It's very, very... If you don't do it, then the result is that you will gradually you gradually get weaker and weaker in your own practice of spiritual life. Because the chanting is what gives us the spiritual strength to fight Maya. And if we don't do the chanting regularly, then we won't get that strength and we'll become weak in our other practices of Krishna consciousness. So we have to be very cautious about that. Yeah, I'm sure there are days, difficulties when it comes, but you have to just do it. You just have to make a point. I have to do it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Maharaj. Hari Bol, Hari Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. All right. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandat Pranam. Maharaj, Sangatyaha, by giving up the association of non-devotees, how we can apply this principle while we go for preaching? Because many a times we go to the level of neophyte devotees, or like a one who is coming into the practice of devotional service. At the time, we may need to associate with many persons who are not performing the devotional service. So we may need to consistently perform that. So how we can apply that, Maharaj?
Well, we apply it in the sense that we don't associate with them in their activities. We can preach to everyone. Wherever you go, you can preach Krishna consciousness everywhere. You can give your association, but you don't take their association. You don't take the association of other people. You don't engage in their activities. But you can give your association to everyone. That benefits everyone. Karmic, Jnanis, Yogis, you can associate with all of them by telling them about Krishna consciousness, by giving them the holy name, and by preaching Krishna consciousness to them. You can do that for everyone, and we should. But we don't associate with them. We don't come to their level. So there's a difference, right? Giving association and taking association. We don't take association from other people, from non-devotees. But we can give association to everyone.
Okay, Maharaj. Okay. Thanks, Maharaj.
Okay, so I have to stop now. I have another program waiting, so I have to finish here. So thank you all very much. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Wonderful to have you, Maharaj, for this session.